If you study guys like Connor Bedard, Macklin Celebrini, Ivan Demidov, or Matthew Schaefer, you're going to notice something that almost no one talks about, but that is super important and I think key to why they're all so successful as players. And no, it's not because they're just all skilled, it's because they keep stepping up into new situations where on paper they shouldn't feel so confident yet. Whether it's jumping into a new league like the NHL, or a new level in general like Bedard torching the World Juniors, or dealing with new pressure like Ivan Demidov playing in a massive hockey market like Montreal. It seems like every time these guys face new challenges, they just play like they've been there before. Like they haven't even scored a goal yet in the league and they're acting like they've scored hundreds of goals there before. And if you don't believe me, look at Matthew Schaefer here. He's making moves at the blue line at 18. He should not be this confident right now. So the real question is, how are they so confident? And really, what do they know about confidence that we don't? In this video, I'm going to break down the 5 core mental frameworks that the best players in the world use to be so consistently confident in every single game. And I'm going to do this so you can unlock that confidence you know you've always had, so you can start playing in games consistently with all the skills you built. So here's what players get wrong about confidence. So many players make the mistake of thinking confidence means I'm 100% sure about something. Like when I make a move, I'm 100% sure I'm going to make the right move. Or when I take the shot, I'm 100% sure the shot's going to go in. But realize you're never 100% sure in hockey, and honestly, you're never 100% sure about anything ever in life. If you ever are, it means you're doing something way too easy. What I mean is I can pick up this bottle cap and I can do this, and I can just throw it a little bit off my hand, and I can do that 100,000 times and I probably won't drop it. That's something I'm essentially 100% confident in, but to be honest, even as I started doing it, I was like, maybe I will drop it. So my belief started to dip a little bit. I'm sure you don't really care about my confidence of throwing this bottle cap up in the air, but even the greatest athletes of all time, like Michael Jordan, really most people say the best basketball player of all time, says he still felt nerves and butterflies before games, and that's totally normal. Listen to this clip of him.
Once the game started, I am not nervous. Before the game, I could be nervous. I'm pretty much nervous at every game. But once the ball goes up for the jump ball, I think all that nervousness just kind of goes away, and I revert back to things that I've practiced, things that seem to be very routine, and I'm very comfortable in that environment.
So you got to realize, even the player who's the best basketball player probably ever, let alone at the time, and he still was not 100% certain. So you got to stop chasing certainty. Real confidence is actually closer to courage. I see it as your ability to act like your best self even when you're not fully certain how something's going to go. And the best way to build that kind of confidence is with logic and evidence, not just vibes and saying, ooh, I feel a little more confident. No, you actually need to learn how your brain works and learn to rewire it with logic and evidence. So that's where the transitive property of confidence comes in. So it's really important to understand that the way you actually build confidence is if A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. And so essentially what this means is that your brain does this thing of kind of connecting A to C, even though it doesn't directly connect to it. Like for example, you know that working out doesn't directly lead to you going to the NHL or playing Major Junior or playing D1, but you know that it's going to lead to you playing better in some way, right? It's going to lead to, for example, you have more speed, you have more conditioning, and then that ability to use that speed and conditioning is then going to lead you to playing better, and then playing better is going to lead you to get maybe more ice time, or ice time is going to lead to the next thing, right? So our brains are able to actually connect the dots and realize that things are going to lead to success in the long run. So why confidence really matters here is because confidence has this kind of transitive property of it transfers across things without you having necessarily done whatever the thing is you want to be confident in. So what you have to realize is the best players in the world in any sport, let alone hockey, are using their past successes to give them reasonable evidence to believe I can succeed at this level. So even if they've never succeeded, let's say in the NHL or D1 or Major Junior or Junior Hockey or even AAA for some players, they understand that if they've had success before, their brain is able to take that and say, well, what if I simply just apply the same tools and systems to this next level, and I apply the same lessons of failing and getting better or whatever it is, and you apply it to the next thing. And I know that sounds kind of like almost stupidly simple, but if you really think about it, this is what confidence really is, whether you know you're doing it or not. Like Celebrini isn't just confident because he's already lived this shift before or he's already played in the NHL. He jumped into the league at 18 and was confident because he trusts in his underlying ability that he's used thousands of times, and he's able to use that transitive property to see, why can't I apply here? So it doesn't matter what building you're in, what jersey, what the crowd's like, it's the same skill, it's the same process. And so the real question is never, have I done this at this level or in this building before? It's, have I already proven that I can overcome difficult things? I can overcome overcome challenges. I can do things. I can succeed in new environments or new levels. And then you take that and you transfer it into the next thing. So it's not certainty about the outcome. It's certainty that you can try stuff and that it's worked before. So when you try stuff again, it's going to work again. But the real problem here is that if you take this and just say, oh, okay, whatever, I'll just go into my game and be like, oh, I can do it. I believe in myself. That's not going to really work. What you have to do to make this consistently effective so you can be consistently confident is actually apply a proper system to this, because your brain is this kind of chaotic mess for most people, not just players, but just like most humans. And so you have to learn how to kind of get your brain in order. And that's what we're going to break down in the rest of this video. But before we move on, if you're a player or you're a parent watching this for your kid and you want to build a real mental system so you can consistently show up confident in games, there's 2 links below. Link 1 is basically a short video that's just going to break down what it looks like to actually work with us, how we approach things, our kind of philosophy, and how we decide if we work with players or not. So if you want to, you can click the link, you can watch that video, and if you want, you can apply to work with us. We'll review the application, we'll let you know if we think we can help, and then we'll go through a process to see if we can really help you, or if we don't think we can, we'll just give you some free resources and try to point you in the best direction for your career. Or if you're not really that serious, you're kind of new to mental training, you just want to try some stuff, then you can click the second link, and there is basically a full free training guide. It's 2 hours long. There's worksheets, there's guided meditations, visualizations, and mental tools to actually learn how to get started with a proper mental system. Now let's get back to the video. So now let's talk about the confidence ladder and how this goes from micro to macro. And I'll explain what all that means in a second. So you got to realize confidence doesn't jump from 0 to 100. It doesn't go from, I don't think I can do this, to I'm going to go dominate in the NHL in one step. Confidence is a ladder that you climb. You want to think of it as steps or layers. So you have kind of the micro steps. Like for example, when you're feeling nervous, let's say going into like a tryout, it's like, okay, you focus on one shot, like one stride, doing one deke. And when you do that, you start to prove to yourself, okay, I can physically do this. Like if you think about training and how you developed as a player, it's like you go out on the ice and you're like, okay, I can't even stand on the ice. Okay, let's stand with the walker thing. Okay, remove the walker thing. I can stand now. Okay, can I take a stride? Can I take one step, right? And then you slowly add in pieces. Now, as a higher level player, obviously you're way beyond that. It would be stupid for me to even act like that matters. But why I say it is because it sets the foundation for the rest of the way you develop. So what you can do to start using this transitive property of confidence is you have the mechanical wins, right? So you can work on just pure mechanics. Then you start to stack in drill wins. So like small area games, doing skills drills and doing them well, moving around cones, being able to shoot the puck effectively. What you start to do is you prove, okay, I can do this on command. Like I have the ability to do this in certain environments. They're not as real as a game, but you know, we're getting there. Then you start to look at, okay, let's get some more practice wins. So like this week, I want to start to apply a skill into practice. Let's start winning a few more reps. Let's start using a shot on goalies. Let's start to prove, okay, I can actually bring this, and then, okay, start to bring it consistently into practice. Then it's maybe scrimmages or like shinny games, okay? So more chaos, more reads, more chaotic environment, basically. And now you prove you can do it when it's kind of like a messy, unknown environment. Eventually, you get enough evidence with that where it's like, okay, real games. So maybe you apply it once in a couple games. Then it starts to get to the point where like once every game, you kind of use the move or skill or shot or whatever the thing is. Then you start to notice it happens most periods. And then it's like, okay, most times when you get the puck or opportunities to use the skill, you start to use it. And then eventually you're going to get to use this at another level, right? Like if you're succeeding at this current level, well, if you've built up and kind of climbed this ladder, well, eventually you'll get to use it, whether it's at like maybe moving up to AAA or junior or NCAA or pro. And now what you're doing is you're proving you have the ability to transfer skills to different levels. And I get it. This does sound kind of stupidly simple, but I'm doing this because I want you to understand that the mental game is meant to be stupidly simple. When you break it down into the very essential elements of like how your mind really works, this is what you need to do. You need to pull it back to the basics. If you guys have ever done a proper workout program, you don't just jump on a Swiss ball and do like, you know, single arm shoulder presses balancing on a Swiss ball and you're like, oh, I got to do all my balance stuff. No, like that is absolutely stupid if that's the very first thing you do. What you need to do is bring yourself back into very basic things, very simple, figuring out, okay, where are my limitations? You don't go to complex things first. That's what you need to realize your brain is doing is anytime you want to build confidence in something, it's really just thinking like, okay, let's move up one step at a time. You pull it all the way back to the basics, one step, and then that builds this foundation of belief in your ability to do it. That isn't just like bullshitting your way to thinking, oh yeah, I can make the NHL. It's like, no, you take little steps. Now, where most players go wrong is that they start to think, okay, well, number one, if I don't have evidence, then, you know, I shouldn't even bother starting. Like, that's dumb. Why bother, right? We'll talk about this and how it kind of connects to delusion. But two, where players also go wrong, and I made this mistake a bunch of times in my career, is that you get really caught up in this idea of like, I need to know every single step and I need to do it perfectly and it needs to be succeed, boom, to the next one, boom. But that's not how it works in reality. What happens is you do it well and then you fail a couple times and then you learn something and then you get advice and you go seek coaching. That's why we work with players, so we can help them understand how to navigate climbing this confidence ladder as they navigate their career. Realize you're building like a chain of confidence or a stack of confidence that becomes undeniable proof that you are the player that you say you are. And so the key principle here is anything that's difficult, you want to accomplish a big goal, you want to break it down into the very simple, small wins until your brain stops treating it like a threat. Like, oh my God, I don't think I can make it to that level. I don't know if I can succeed here. To, okay, cool. We have that transitive property ready to go. I already know I've done it before at whatever the previous step was. Let's bring it to the next one. And yes, there will be times where you got to jump it up and you're like, oh my God, I might have to use this in a game now. I'm nervous. That's okay. This is where courage comes in. You have to be able to be courageous enough to understand that yes, you need to simply be able to do stuff that you are uncertain about. That is the skill of all skills as an athlete and as a human being. If you want to be successful in anything, you have to be the one who's willing to go into the place where you're not sure. That's what the best athletes do. They do stuff that they're not sure about. Like the best players, I remember watching Messi for Argentina in the World Cup a while back, and he had a big penalty shot, and it was like a really determining goal, and he missed it. And it was like, oh my God, he missed like this massive shot. He could have brought his team, I think it would have tied the game, and he misses. It's like, yeah, because the best players fail all the time. It's just that they also succeed all the time. And so you have to just be okay with the fact that like when you're in the spotlight, you might also fail in the spotlight. You win in the spotlight, but you fail in it too. And so now what I want to do is just go a little bit deeper into this idea of how to stack evidence, and I want to give you this ability to understand how your brain really updates its evidence stack. So the first core thing to build a real evidence stack, right, that deep foundational belief, is you need to think about seeing. So if you can watch other players like you succeed, if you can watch clips of yourself making real plays, that's great. If you can see something happen, it's going to give your brain a lot more evidence. That's why a lot of times you'll see people encourage players to watch a lot of highlights of great players making great plays. Watch your successful clips over. If you look at the best athletes, they love to do this. They love to watch their own film, because what this does is it builds that belief that, oh yeah, I can do that. Because these little doubting parts of you will come in and be like, I don't think you can do that. And you have to be able to be like, yeah, I can. I have the tools. And so that's the first thing, is see it. See it as much as you can. Bring it into your brain. This is where visualization comes in. You can visualize and see yourself having done something you've done before, but remind yourself, like, I've done it a million times. Your subconscious mind doesn't give a shit how many times you've physically done it or mentally done it. It just cares like how many times have you seen it happen. And so that's where that hack comes in. Then the other piece is feeling it. Now, your brain remembers things that are connected to a very strong emotion. It does this because emotions are a very important part of how we survive. When we feel fear or we feel very like scared in any situation, our brain wants to remember like, okay, whatever caused us to be scared, let's make sure that we learn from this thing. If we feel really like excited and happy and joyful, it's probably because something good just happened that we want to have happen again. So we remember it and store it into our mind. So whenever you're remembering these things or when you're watching film, remember to make sure you also feel the feeling of like when you beat that guy wide, when you scored that goal, when you made that move, when you won that game, because that feeling really reinforces and grooves that feeling into your system of, oh yeah, okay, I am that player. I can do that. And it brings that excitement and stores that again deeper into who you are. It stores it into your subconscious identity. So that's the key to understand. I want to distinguish this very quickly before we move on, that if you want to be more confident, it doesn't just have to be you who succeeded. You can look at other players who are similar to you and you can say, okay, I know that you can do it. You want to create mental images of you succeeding and having done the thing so that your subconscious mind has that belief, oh yeah, we can do this. We're good. We can relax, right? And this doesn't just happen the moment of a game. You think, oh, I'll just visualize game day and everything works out. I hear so many players say that. No, the goal is that you visualize consistently. You program and simulate these things in your mind consistently so that your brain has tons of evidence stored, which then allows you to settle into the moment, right? If you've done something 1,000 times, you're going to feel much more comfortable in that situation and you're going to tap into the maximum amount of skills. Not that you're going to succeed perfectly, but really what visualizing does is it allows you to be able to access the maximum amount of your skills and abilities. It's not necessarily going to make you like 10 times more skilled. You need to actually do it in reality. But if you visualize something repeatedly, if you've had success once, you visualize it 1,000 times, what it does is it stores that as a clear, distinct identity trait of like, I am that player. And that's how you speed the process of becoming more than you currently are as a player. If you're a third liner, a fourth liner, and you want to expand your game and become an offensive player, if you're not actually creating a clear mental system to build this belief, it's going to limit you a lot. And now what I'm going to do is I want to talk about the last piece of the puzzle here. And this is this idea of how you interpret evidence and how important this is for actually building confidence. So what can happen with evidence is if you don't actually believe that that evidence means something to you, if you interpret things as, oh yeah, okay, I scored a goal, but that was lucky. Yeah, I had a good game at that level, but that was just because things kind of worked out. This is where having what people just call a negative mindset can really limit you, because what happens is if you have a negative mentality around things, how you think is actually just not positive, then what happens is you will pick the negative things out of every situation. So what happens is that you'll say, okay, I scored a goal, but again, it was lucky because I don't do it all the time. So you'll look for the justification for why the evidence shouldn't be used. And so if that's always what's happening, your brain essentially filters out all the positive and basically only allows the negative and concentrates that negativity. And I've seen it with so many players where they literally have had tons of success, and then they have 2 games where they play bad, and all of a sudden this part of them switches in and starts filtering everything for negativity. It looks back at all the evidence and interprets it in the wrong way. And so a really big piece of what we teach players in our programs is how to actually address that part of us that's getting in the way and leading us to be scared, leading us to not want to make plays. And once you get it, once you understand how to really work through that, it is an absolute game changer. And we talked about that in a bunch of other videos, so feel free to check out the other videos on how to go from being a practice player to a game player and things like that. That's the key there. And now the last thing I want to talk about is this idea of being delusionally confident, and how what this really is it's using that transitive property of confidence and doing bigger chunks of that. And so from the outside, some players are going to look absolutely crazy when, for example, they're like a small town kid, they're not the best player at 14, and they still want to play D1 or pro. People are going to roll their eyes at them, and these are the type of players where people are going to say, like, you're crazy, you're delusional, that's never going to work out. But being delusional, I think, is a really important thing if you want to be a successful athlete. Here's the reason why. Here's the kind of nuance there. You're never going to be 100% certain about anything. Nobody is. But again, confidence isn't about certainty. Confidence is the courage to follow the plan, make the play, trust yourself. That's what creates flow, is being able to trust yourself in the moment. So if you're delusional, it's going to allow you to be willing to act before you feel fully ready. It's going to help you be more courageous because you trust your processes enough to get you where you want to go. You actually have this belief that, like, it's going to work out. And that's why it's such an advantage to be kind of crazy and a little delusional. So what I encourage every player I work with is not to say, I'm guaranteed to be in the NHL and I'm not going to go to school and I'm just going to follow my path. What I do encourage players to do is believe slightly ahead of what seems possible. Because if you do that, it's going to give you the motivation to take way more action. Because instead of saying, I need proof, somebody had to have already done this, you say, I'm going to be the first one. I'm going to figure this out. And to me, I would much rather pursue a goal and go all in and go past what other people think is possible and just see if it could work. Because who cares? If I fail, I'll just go after the next thing. So a player with low belief will play it safe. They will quit early. They won't keep pursuing things when things get difficult. But a player with that long-term frame that's a little crazy, that's a little delusional, will actually allow them to push way harder. It will give them this ability to build the proof because they do all the extra work because they're like, I'm gonna figure this out. And so this isn't ignoring reality. It's just, I'm willing to make a bet on myself. And so putting it all together, this is the simplest confidence system. And I would run this like a system with 3 steps. First, map out your ladder and pick it for a skill that currently aligns with your role or the role you're trying to work into. Then what I want you to do is list the rungs of where you have to get wins in order to keep building up that confidence. And this is where you build that evidence stack. Collect clips of other players, collect clips of yourself doing the thing, write down all the memories you have of making good plays, coaches telling you did well, teammates telling you did well, parents telling you did well. Remember how it feels when you did it, and then do daily visualization reps seeing yourself do it. And when you do this, you can't hide from the proof anymore, and your brain has to start to subconsciously eventually accept it. Now this may take a few days or a few weeks, but eventually you will start to feel it. And then what you can do to condense all this down is write one clear sentence and tape it up on your wall near your bed that you read in the morning and at night. And really what you want to say is, like, I've succeeded before, I've proved I can do this before, and that's why I know that I can succeed in the future, and that's why I'm going to get my goal. If you run that consistently, I'm not saying you're going to have 100% certainty in everything you do, but you are going to have the confidence and the courage to take things on, to train harder, to push more, to make the plays in games, and that's all I really care about for you. So if you like this and you want to learn more, again, no pressure at all, but if you or your son or daughter wants to actually work with us, you can click the first link and check that out and apply. Or if you're not sure, or if you're not that serious right now and you just want to start training your mental game, then check out the free training. It'll give you a full mental system to get started. Either way, I hope you have a great week. I hope it's the best week you've had so far. I really appreciate you watching this video. I hope you got a lot of value from it. Comment below any questions you have, and I'll see you in the next video.